Waters. Senator Day.
Mr. Acting Deputy President, look, I'm just astounded. Senator Waters says that this committee and members of the inquiry have been duped by fake science. I can reassure Senator Waters we have not been duped by fake science. We have been persuaded by the dozens and dozens of people who, unlike Senator Waters, actually live near wind farms. We've heard from dozens of witnesses. There have been hundreds of submissions. We've heard from dozens of qualified researchers. We've seen admissions by health bodies that more research is needed. Now, look, I didn't have much of an interest in wind farms when this inquiry was first established, but a few things appealed to me. Number one, I have a science background. Number two, some of the evidence because it's to do with sound. I'm a musician, so I'm interested in sound. And thirdly, I was a pilot, and I've heard quite a bit of evidence from pilots. Now, the basic tenet of science, and one of the founding principles of science, is that not that you have to prove that something is true. It's the onus on science is to prove that something is false. So for people to say that science has not proven that there has been or that there is a link between wind turbines and health is not the issue at all. One could go back in history and find many examples where new research and groundbreaking scientists going back as far as Copernicus and Galileo and Einstein and Newton, who came up with theories. And in fact, there's a great story of Albert Einstein when he came up with his theory of relativity, and his colleagues said it's not true, and we have a letter here from 100 of your colleagues to say that it's not true. And he responded, well, why did you need 100? Why did you bring 100? You only need one. You only need one scientist to prove that my theory of relativity is not true. Now, this report, which has been absolutely fascinating, the inquiry has gone across the land. This report, tabled by its chair, Senator Madigan, records the committee's concerns with, in particular, the issue of infrasound. Now, I hadn't heard much about infrasound. We all know about audible levels of sound, and we know about dog whistles. I hear that term dog whistling, which is an inaudible sound at the very high frequency end of the sound spectrum, and only dogs can hear it, and that's why it's called a dog whistle. But it turns out, Mr. Acting Deputy President, that there is sound at the other end of the sound spectrum. I don't know what particular animal you might summons with this with a whistle, if one could be designed that emitted very, very low frequency, but it's in this very low frequency area which has fascinated scientists and acousticians, and it's this that apparently has there is very strong evidence from dozens and dozens of people who testify that they have serious health effects of this. Now, we have a very basic principle in our court system where a person stands in the dock or stands in the witness box and they give testimony. And it is a basic principle that they can say, I saw this with my own eyes, or this happened to me. It's not hearsay, it's first-hand evidence. And I'm persuaded that as groups like the NH and MRC are also persuaded that more research is needed in this area. I've also seen a report from the early 1980s, going back 30 years, making a link between low-frequency infrasound and health. Now, the committee believes that the recommendations in this report are crucial in putting in place regulatory structures and guidance that will set clear, consistent and robust parameters for future wind farm developments, because quite frankly at the moment it's a free-for-all. They are a law unto themselves. We heard evidence from local shire councils who are way out of their depth in attempting to regulate and enforce compliance with planning regulations. We heard from state governments who also are struggling with having to enforce compliance on wind farms. So for the federal government to adopt and establish regulatory structures to set clear, consistent and robust parameters can only be a good thing. Now, these recommendations are intended for implementation federally, but they will direct and guide state and territory governments in their planning approval processes.
Thank you, Senator Day. It being 4:30, we will shortly move